Have you ever felt a presence in the room, so subtle you almost convince yourself it's nothing, until it isn't? I first noticed it the night the wind carried a strange scent through the bamboo walls of my home. My name is Luningning de la Cruz, and I returned to my parents' village to care for them, thinking the only ghosts I'd face were memories. I was wrong. The village seemed quiet, almost too quiet. The children's laughter that usually lingered through the fields had gone, replaced by soft, shuffling noises in the shadows. And I knew instinctively something was stalking. Earlier that evening, I had visited Mang Tomas, the village herbalist, to gather herbs for my ailing mother. His hands trembled as he handed me a small bundle wrapped in dried palm leaves. "Keep your doors closed tonight, Luningning," he said. His eyes darted to the forest beyond the rice paddies. "Some hungers come from beyond." I thought it was superstition at first, but then I saw the footprints. Tiny, almost human, yet too elongated to belong to anyone I knew. They led from the edge of the forest straight to the village nursery. And I remembered the story. The Aswang, a creature that walks among us by day, blending with the villagers, but preys by night on the sick and the newborns. It wasn't a story my parents told to scare children. It was a warning. I stayed awake that night, listening to the soft scrape of my door, my pulse steady but alert. Somewhere in the distance, a soft cry, so faint I questioned it, lingered from the bamboo houses. My mother slept beside me, unaware. I couldn't wake her. Not yet. By the time the moon reached its peak, a shadow moved past my window. Slow, patient, almost human. And that was when I knew, deep in my bones, the hunt had begun. I didn't sleep that night, but exhaustion blurred the edges of my senses. I wandered through the narrow paths between the bamboo huts, my bare feet brushing the wet soil, listening. Every rustle of leaves felt deliberate, as if the forest conspired in silence. I came upon Amihan Reyes, a girl from the next village over, sitting alone by the well. I had never seen her before. Her hands trembled as she clutched a small bundle wrapped in ragged cloth. "Are you okay?" I asked, stepping closer. She looked up, her dark eyes wide with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "I heard it. In the hills. It's coming closer. They said it only comes for the newborns, but I saw it." Her voice faltered. "My brother didn't make it." My chest gripped. I had heard soft voices of children disappearing before, but seeing someone so young carry the grief of loss, it struck deeper than I could have imagined. Amihan's gaze shifted to the images beyond the well. "It moves like a person, but something's off. The way it bends, the way it peers, I can feel it thinking, planning." That was when I noticed the faint glint of something metallic in the underbrush. I froze. My fingers grazed the sharp edge of the sickle I always carried, but I dared not move too quickly. A soft wind carried a sound, a low, dragging shuffle, too deliberate to be the night's normal noises. The bundle in Amihan's arms stirred. I realized, with a chill crawling down my spine, that she wasn't just holding a blanket. She was holding life itself. And then the image moved again, closer this time, brushing against the edge of the lantern light. I held my breath. The forest waited. The village waited. And for the first time that night, I understood. This was not just a hunt. It was a warning. I had to act. But how do you face something that blends with the living, hides in plain sight, and strikes without mercy? And then I saw it. Just for a heartbeat. Slender, pale, its eyes catching the faint light. And in that moment, I knew I was no longer a bystander. I was part of the story now. The forest felt alive that night, hissing in ways I couldn't name. My steps were measured, slow, careful. Every snap of a twig sent my heart thudding. Not with panic, but with a steady, aching dread that rooted me in the moment. I found Isco de los Reyes, a hunter from the outskirts, crouched near the edge of the rice paddies. I had never met him before. His weathered face and calloused hands told stories of years spent surviving the unforgiving hills. But tonight, his eyes were wide, not with courage, but with fear I could recognize. "They've been moving the bodies," he murmured without looking at me. "Not all are killed the same way. Some are left, marked. I followed his gaze. Small handprints, smeared in mud and ash, led into the shadowed forest. My gut nodded. This wasn't just the Aswang taking life, it was sending messages. Messages I didn't understand, yet I felt in every nerve ending. I tried to steady my breathing. Marked? How? He hesitated, then murmured, like they're being tested. The creature wants to know who's staring, who's ready to intervene. I thought of Amihan and her trembling bundle. The thought of another child being tested made my hands tremble despite my effort to remain calm. We moved deeper into the thicket, the night pressing in around us, a soft rustling keeping pace with our steps. I could almost feel the Aswang watching, patient, calculating. It didn't need to strike yet. It simply wanted to see how far fear could stretch. And then I heard it. A soft, deliberate hiss, close enough to make my skin prickle. Isco froze and I froze. I could feel the eyes of something inhuman, scanning us. A small bird took flight, its wings brushing against the leaves above, and the specter darted. Just for a heartbeat, I caught its shape. Tall, pale, bending unnaturally, with eyes that glimmered like moonlight on water. I realized something horrifying. The Aswang was learning from us. And if it learned, it would adapt. We didn't move. We didn't breathe. And in that frozen moment, I understood that the night wasn't just long. It was endless. Have you ever felt a sound so fragile it nearly slipped past your senses, but it clung to you anyway? I was walking along the riverbank when I heard it. A soft, plaintive cry that didn't belong to any child I knew. My name is Padre Mateo Santos, and I have spent years guiding souls. But that night, my prayers felt useless. The cry tugged at my chest, raw and trembling. I followed it into a cluster of mangrove roots where Tala Murata, a young herbal apprentice, crouched. I had never seen her before. She was barely 17, but her hands were steady as she held a tiny figure wrapped in a palm cloth. Her eyes darted to mine, wide with terror and defiance. I found her near the stream, Tala murmured. She wasn't moving when I saw her, but then her voice broke. She faltered. I think it followed me. The child stirred in her arms, fragile and pale. My chest tightened. Even from a distance, I could sense the Aswang's image lingering nearby, calculating, invisible yet palpable. The river reflected the dim light of the lanterns we carried, rippling like liquid silver. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying. The creature was choosing its next victim with precision, and we were already part of its test. Tala glanced toward the village, panic trembling across her face. We can't go back. Not yet. It knows we're awake. I nodded, swallowing the bile that rose in my throat. Then we hide and watch. But the riverbank was no refuge. A faint brush of movement against the reeds told me it was close. Too close. The Aswang didn't rush. It observed, patient, relentless. And then, for the first time, I saw its face, or what could pass for a face in the moonlight. Pale, elongated, features just human enough to be unsettling. It paused, sniffed the air, and faded like mist into the shadows, leaving nothing but the reflect of its presence. I realized, with a shiver that ran to my bones, that the creature didn't just hunt to feed. It hunted to terrify, to make us feel every heartbeat, every hesitation. And tonight it had seared us. Do you ever feel the air thicken, heavy with secrets you're not supposed to know? I was walking through the abandoned marketplace, my lantern barely cutting through the mist, when I noticed Celia, a middle-aged vendor I had never met before. Her stall was empty, yet she crouched beneath the tarpaulin, clutching a small crate of herbs like it was a shield. Her eyes, wide and unblinking, followed every movement I made. Did you hear it? She murmured, her voice trembling. The sound at the edge of the cornfield? Children crying. I nodded, gripping my staff tighter. I didn't need to ask who she meant. The Aswang's presence was palpable here, weaving through the quiet stalls, testing the villagers' courage. Celia shook as she pointed toward the image between the rice sacks. I saw it. Just for a moment, a figure bending, almost human but wrong. It left my nephew, but it took the goat. And it's learning. I can feel it. The thought of the creature learning, adapting, haunted me more than any scream. My pulse tightened, slow and relentless. We moved carefully, step by step, the ground soft with fallen leaves. The marketplace a maze of half-forgotten wooden stalls and empty baskets. Then a sound, soft, deliberate, like fingernails dragging over wood, vibrated behind us. Celia froze. I froze. The figure appeared briefly, ducking behind a stall. Tall, pale, its image stretching unnaturally in the lantern light. I saw its face, for the briefest moment. Elongated, unreadable, yet chillingly human. It didn't strike. Not yet. It watched. And I realized, with a deep, gnawing dread, that the Aswang was learning the rhythm of our fear. Every heartbeat, every tremble was being catalogued. Celia whispered, barely audible. It won't be long before it comes for someone here. For someone alive. For someone we can't protect. And just like that, it receded into the mist, leaving only the linger of its presence. But the weight of it lingered. I knew we weren't safe. Not for a moment. Tonight, the village had become a testing ground, and I had been forced into the front row. Have you ever felt the weight of an entire village pressing down on you, though no one speaks? I am Dante Villamor, a local farmer whose hands are calloused from years of tending rice paddies, and I never believed in the old tales. Not until tonight. The moon hung low over the fields, its pale glow casting long, uncertain image across the narrow paths. I had taken it upon myself to keep watch near the edge of the village, where the sick and the newborns slept. That's when I saw Aling Merrily, a midwife from the far side of the river, carrying a small lantern and murmured to a bundle she cradled. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with determination I could not name. The children's cries, they hide them, she murmured, glancing toward the forest. But it can taste our wakefulness. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. The stories had never described it like this. Not the way it learned, stared, and calculated its next move. A rustle in the tall grass drew my attention. The figure was there, tall, unnaturally still, almost human but wrong. Its eyes glimmered with something cold, something precise. It paused for a moment, sniffing the air, then darted toward a distant hut. I dared not breathe. Aling merrily knelt, pressing the bundle close. We have to move before it decides. Her voice was firm, but her hands shook. I understood what she meant. This wasn't just about ache, it was about control, fear, dominance. The Aswang didn't strike randomly. It observed, selected, and struck when we were most vulnerable. As we moved silently across the rice paddies, I caught a glimpse of a figure in the water's reflection. It wasn't hunting yet, but it was learning, measuring, waiting, and in that moment, I realized we weren't simply defending lives tonight. We were part of a test, and failure wasn't just death. It was the slow, deliberate consumption of hope itself. The lantern flickered. I froze. Aling Merrili's eyes met mine. It knows we're here, she hushed. And then the wind carried a soft, dragging sound, closer than ever. This night was far from over. Have you ever felt the night itself turn against you, as if it were alive and aware of every heartbeat? I am Rogelio Cruz, a local healer who has spent decades walking the narrow paths of this village, tending to its sick and weary. Tonight, I found myself crouched near the oldest nipa hut, lantern in hand, sweat cold on my brow. Nearby, Nene Lena, a woman known for her sharp intuition and knowledge of old rituals, clutched her grandson tightly. I had never met her before this night, but the fear in her eyes mirrored my own. A soft rustle moved through the tall grass, deliberate, patient. I froze. So did Nene Marin. We knew without seeing that the Aswang was near, not gnawing yet, but hungry for fear, for hesitation, for a weakness it could exploit. The bundle in her arms shifted. I realized with a jolt that the Aswang was testing us, seeing if we would falter, seeing if we would betray panic in the smallest gesture. My hands tightened around my herbs, not to throw, but to anchor myself. Then it appeared, fully in the lantern light for the first time. Tall, emaciated, features almost human but grotesquely stretched, eyes gleaming like polished bone. Paused, sniffing the air, calculating, watching. Nene Marin spoke softly. It knows we are here. We have one chance. I understood immediately. One chance to protect life, one chance to fight fear itself. Slowly, deliberately, I reached into my satchel and sprinkled crushed garlic and salt along the perimeter of the hut. The creature recoiled slightly, its human-like curiosity clashing with instinctive caution. It hissed, a low, lingering sound that chilled my bones. I could feel it measuring, deciding, waiting for the smallest slip. The tension stretched unbearably. And then, just as the first faint light of dawn kissed the horizon, it faded. Not defeated, not gone, simply gone. Leaving behind silence, a lingering cold, and the knowledge that it would return. Nene Marin exhaled shakily, still gripping her grandson. I looked at her, feeling the weight of the night settle into my chest. We had survived, for now. But the village had changed. We had all changed. And as the sunlight crept over the rice paddies, I uttered softly to myself, some hunts never truly end. Collision subscribed to the veil of secret to follow every shadow, every whisper, every story the night doesn't want you to see, and for more real folklore stories that will haunt you long after the screen goes dark.